Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. As you may or may not know, my name is Lydia Jackson, and I am an HR manager here. I called this meeting to just kind of go over some things that I think are very important to me and to our workplace. So just jumping right in, I want to start with a quick fact. According to a 2020 Gallup report, 76% of employees experience burnout at least sometimes, and nearly half of those employees say that they have considered leaving their jobs because of it. That is not a small issue. That is a crisis quietly affecting productivity, engagement, and retention across every industry, not just ours. I know we've all seen it firsthand. A talented employee who was once enthusiastic and reliable, over time becoming distant, unmotivated, disengaged. Eventually they leave, and often not because of the pay, but because of the exhaustion and the burnout. Today I'll be talking about what burnout really is, how it affects our mental health, and why it plays such a major role in turnover rates. I'll also share a few strategies we can use as managers to identify the burnout early and help prevent it here in our teams. This is not just about employee satisfaction, it is about organizational sustainability. All right, let's dive into what burnout really means. Burnout is not just stress. We all deal with stress, deadlines, workloads, competing priorities, but burnout is what happens when the stress becomes chronic and unrelenting. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is defined as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed, characterized by three key dimensions: exhaustion, feeling drained physically and mentally; cynicism, detachment or negative feelings towards one's job; reduced professional efficiency, feeling ineffective or unaccomplished, just not getting the work done. These signs definitely do not happen overnight. They build up gradually. So some of those causes can include workload and unrealistic deadlines. So the employees constantly feeling behind, feeling like they need to catch up on things. Lack of recognition, people not feeling valued for their contributions. I do think that one is a big one. If your employees do not feel like they are heard or seen at work, mental health can slip very fast. Poor work-life balance, employees feeling like they can't really disconnect from their work to their home life. And then the last one is toxic or unsupportive culture, where communication and feedback are lacking. And I also think this one is a big one. I like to stress this one just because if you don't have open communication or open feedback, if you're not open to criticism, then the workplace is not going to grow. You're not going to thrive as a business. So that is something that we definitely need to have. When we combine all of these elements, employees begin to lose their sense of control and purpose. That is when the engagement drops and burnout sets in. So let's kind of shift to an HR standpoint. These symptoms often show up as absenteeism, declining performance, or disengagement. But by the time they're visible, burnout has already set in. So as managers, early awareness is going to be the key for us. So now that we understand what burnout is, let's talk about how it affects mental health. Burnout is not just emotional fatigue. It is a psychological response to feeling overwhelmed and powerless over time. It can manifest as anxiety, depression, sleep issues, and even physical symptoms like headaches, high blood pressure, chronic fatigue. And then it can also manifest as cognitive decline, so trouble concentrating at work, trouble making decisions. And then I'm kind of going to jump back to the first 2020 Gallup study that I talked about earlier. They report that high levels of burnout are employees who report high levels of burnout are 63% more likely to take a sick day and 23% more likely to visit the emergency room. So this is not just a personal issue. This directly affects team dynamics, absenteeism, and even healthcare costs, which I thought was very interesting. What's especially concerning to me, though, is that burnout does create a type of feedback loop. Employees feel overwhelmed, their performance slips, they feel guilty about the slipping, and then that guilt increases their stress even further. So over time, even the high-performing employees start to lose their motivation and their identity within their work. So when people's mental health suffers, they're going to start to question, is my job sustainable? Can I keep doing this? And that is when the retention issues start to emerge. So let's be honest, every organization talks about retention, but I feel like we often approach it a bit reactively. Someone resigns, we call for an exit interview, and then we try to fix it after the fact, after they're gone. But if we trace it back, burnout is the most common denominator. According to Deloitte's 2023 workplace survey, more than 70% of professionals considered leaving their job, citing burnout as the primary reason. All right, let's just think about the cost of turnover. Recruiting, onboarding, lost productivity, even loss of institutional knowledge. These can easily amount to 50% to 200% of an employee's annual salary, obviously depending on their role. But the deeper cost to me, I think, is the culture. When employees see others leaving due to stress or burnout, it signals that the organization does not prioritize well-being. And that perception spreads so quickly. Take social media, for instance. Somebody posts something on social media, it goes viral. That is how quick perception can spread. So just getting ahead of things, because when our employees do feel valued and supported, and they see the leaders, the managers modeling balance, care, all of that, that is when retention is just going to strengthen naturally. So what can we do differently? Preventing burnout does not mean eliminating all stress. That's just impossible. It means creating conditions where our employees can recover and feel supported and feel like they can thrive. Here are several strategies that research and HR best practices recommend. Normalizing breaks and times off. Just encouraging our employees to take their PTO without guilt. I also believe that if we as leaders model this behavior, employees will follow, because I know sometimes employees feel like, oh, I never see my boss take time off, so why would I? Everyone needs time off. Everyone needs a day to themselves, a day to breathe. I think that if we as managers do better at that, then our employees will feel more supported as well. Making sure that we offer flexible work arrangements, I do think that's very important. Having hybrid models or adjustable schedules give employees more control and can reduce chronic stress. So just feeling like, you have the power to say, hey, this doesn't work for me, or changing your schedule around. We have to be open to that. Providing mental health resources and employee assistant programs. So just making resources visible and accessible, like employees should know that they have people there for them. I also think confidential support can make a major difference, so just having somebody to talk to in confidence can be really great. Training managers to recognize early signs of burnout. So just as managers, we need to keep checking in on our employees. Hey, how are you doing today? Stuff like that, even that can just open the door for more important conversations. Being open to recognition and feedback. So authentic recognition helps employees feel valued and connect to the mission. And kind of what I mentioned earlier, I think surveys are a great idea, just to get feedback from our employees to see how they feel. And that kind of makes them feel safe to speak up and have those hard conversations with us. But I don't think this is about implementing like one new program. I think it is about building a new culture. I would say it's trying to build like a culture of care and one where productivity and well-being can coexist instead of like compete against each other. And I do believe that this all starts with our leadership. If we as managers demonstrate balance, empathy, openness, our teams are far more likely to do the same. All right, kind of wrapping everything up. Burnout is definitely not just an individual issue. It is an organizational challenge that directly affects mental health, engagement, and retention. When we take care of our people, we take care of our organization. And addressing burnout is not about just reducing turnover. It is about creating a workplace where employees can sustain their best performance without sacrificing their well-being. So I'll leave you with this thought. Imagine a workplace where people end their day with enough energy to go home and enjoy their personal lives, where they feel valued, supported, and genuinely motivated to return to work tomorrow. That is not a luxury. I think that is the standard that we should aim for. Thank you for your time today. I encourage all of you to review the handout after this meeting. It includes practical reminders and a bunch of resources that can help us each play a part in building a healthier, more balanced workplace. Thank you.